My brother chose to live the life he led. He was no saint. He was a product of his environment as well. The day I went to jail is when it all came very clear to me that I had to change my life.
What was the terrible secret Barry White kept until his death? Did the legendary singer, known for his deep voice and love songs, hide something from the world? How could someone so successful in love carry such a burden? Was it about his health, family, or something even more shocking? Let's explore the heartbreaking truth that Barry White took with him, leaving fans wondering what really happened.
When I was 4, I started getting interested in music through my mother and her playing.
Barry White, born Barry Eugene Carter on September 12, 1944, came from humble beginnings. He was born in Galveston, Texas, to Melvin A. White and Sadie Marie Carter. His parents were never married, so Barry originally had his mom's last name, Carter. Later, he decided to go by White, his dad's surname. Barry grew up in Watts, a tough neighborhood in Los Angeles. Life wasn't easy there, but Barry found something special to hold on to: music. His mom loved classical music and had lots of records at home. Little Barry loved listening to them, and they sparked his interest in music.
It wasn't easy at all because there weren't a lot of kids.
By the time he was 11, Barry had taught himself to play the piano just by listening to songs and figuring them out. There was even a rumor that he played the piano on Jesse Belvin's 1956 hit, "Good Night, My Love." But Barry cleared this up in a 1995 interview, saying it wasn't true. While he and Belvin lived close by, they didn't make music together because Barry was still just a kid back then.
I love my neighborhoods, I love my guys, the businessmen. We were something to see. But all good things must come to an end, and the day I went to jail is when it all came very clear to me that I had to change my life.
Looking at how his life took a dramatic turn, leading him from the streets of Los Angeles to becoming a music icon. Barry went to Jacob A. Riis High School, an all-boys school in Los Angeles. At around age 13, something surprising happened. His voice changed almost overnight. It went from a high-pitched boy's voice to the deep, rich tone we all know today. Both Barry and his mom were shocked. This sudden change turned out to be a major moment in his life. That deep voice would eventually make him famous. But Barry's teenage years weren't easy. He grew up in South Central Los Angeles, a tough neighborhood. At just 16, he got into serious trouble. Barry and his younger brother, Darryl, often found themselves involved in petty crimes. Darryl was even more of a troublemaker. He ended up in juvenile detention by the time he was 8 years old.
And I used to tell my brother Darryl that we gang banging and going crazy out here in these streets, man, but it doesn't lead nowhere.
As teenagers, the brothers became part of a gang called the Businessmen. This wasn't just a group of kids hanging out. They were involved in serious crimes, including drug dealing and violent conflicts with rival gangs. Barry once said, "We were a two-man gang, respected and feared. The gang fought with others like the Slossons, the Gladiators, and the Del Vikings. These fights often ended in injuries or even deaths, with knives, blunt weapons, and guns being used." A tragic moment came when Barry's brother, Darryl, was in a gang fight. Losing his brother was heartbreaking for Barry, but it didn't immediately change his life. At age 16, Barry was arrested for stealing $30,000 worth of car tires, a crime connected to his gang. He was sentenced to 7 months in jail and spent about 4 months in a juvenile detention center.
The day I went to jail is when it all came very clear to me that I had to change my life.
While behind bars, Barry had time to think about his life. One day he heard Elvis Presley's song, "It's Now or Never." That moment hit him hard, like a wake-up call. Barry realized he didn't want to spend his life in and out of jail. He made a promise to himself to leave the gang life behind for good. After his release, Barry tried to stay out of trouble. However, just weeks later, he was arrested again, this time for attempted. Things looked bad, but luckily, the person who was hurt woke up from a coma and cleared Barry's name, identifying the real attacker. That brush with disaster was the final push Barry needed. He decided to focus on his love for music, leaving his criminal past behind. His deep voice, which had surprised him as a teen, would now be his greatest gift. Barry's story shows that even in the darkest times, it's possible to turn your life around. His honesty about his past has inspired many young people. He once said, "I've been to jail and I've never hidden my past. I want young people to know they were not stuck in misery. They can change."
That I had to change my life. I had to change my attitude. I had to change my way of thinking. Yeah, I even had to change some of my friends.
After getting out of jail, Barry was more determined than ever to make something of himself.
Barry is a very, very warm person because he has such a passion for what he does.
He credits a few special moments for putting him on the path toward music. One of those moments happened on his 18th birthday, which was also the first day back at school for his senior year. Instead of going to school that day, Barry decided to skip class and head to Hollywood. He walked all the way to Capitol Records headquarters and stood across the street, watching people go in and out of the busy building. The energy and excitement of the music business were clear, and Barry knew then that he wanted to be a part of it. Even though he didn't know how to read or write music at that time, he was determined to find his way into the industry. A friend invited him to join a band and sing bass, and Barry accepted. This was his first real step into the music world. In the early 1960s, Barry joined a band called the Upfronts, and they released a song called "Too Far to Turn Around."
Too far to turn around.
He also tried recording some songs on his own, working with small music groups. Despite his talent, success didn't come easy. The music industry was tough, and Barry faced many challenges. But he didn't give up. Instead, he kept working with various small music labels in Los Angeles, learning all he could about the industry. However, simply deciding to pursue music wasn't enough. He spent almost a decade trying to get noticed and make a mark in the world of music. Along the way, White worked on collaborations and slowly fought his way to the top. Barry was not just a singer, he took on many roles. He was a songwriter, a session musician, playing instruments on other people's records, and an arranger, which means he helped organize how songs should sound. This hard work started to build his reputation in the music world. During this time, Barry worked with Bob Keane at Delphi Records and became an AOANDR man, someone who finds new talent, for a new label called Bronco Records. Barry helped other artists, including Viola Wills and the Bobby Fuller Four, gain recognition. One of Barry's biggest achievements in his early career was discovering a singer named Felice Taylor. Barry and his friend Paul Politi co-wrote and arranged songs for her, including a hit called "I Feel Love Comin' On," which became popular in the UK. This success helped Barry gain more respect in the industry as someone who could create hit songs for others. Barry White's career was starting to take off when he signed with Forward Records.
Not only was he a great singer, but he was like a great performer.
Let the music play on.
As a producer, Barry helped other artists with their music, guiding and shaping their sound. His journey to fame wasn't something he did alone. One key person in his success was a businessman named Larry Nunez. Larry got involved early in Barry's career and became a big supporter, changing Barry's life. Barry's friend Paul Politi introduced him to Larry. Larry believed in Barry's talent so much that he decided to back him financially. One big step Larry took was helping Barry create an album for a girl group called Love Unlimited. This group included Glodian James, Barry's future wife, her sister Linda, and their cousin Diane Taylor. Barry worked with them for 2 years, helping them train before they signed with Uni Records. Love Unlimited became a hit, which opened more opportunities for Barry. Barry didn't just help Love Unlimited by writing their songs, he also produced and arranged their music. One of their first big hits was "Walking in the Rain with the One I Love." The song became very popular, even making it to number 14 on the UK charts. This was a huge moment for Barry. The song sold over 1 million copies, and Barry was awarded a gold disc by the RICA. Yet many people didn't really understand him or see him for who he truly was.
When women listened to Barry White, they felt like they were getting taken care of.
While he had fans all over the world, there were people who didn't take him seriously and even made fun of him. This hurt White, but he didn't let it stop him. He kept doing what he loved, making music that made people feel good. In the music world, Barry White's lyrics were sometimes seen as too steamy or too romantic. Some critics thought he only made trashy music and didn't respect his work.
In the last 3 years in America, the birth rate of America had gone up 5% thanks to Barry White's music.
According to The Guardian, this image of him as a love singer wasn't always meant as a compliment. White talked about how people called him different names like symbol, but he didn't let that bother him. He said, "I'm none of that. I'm Barry White." To him, his identity wasn't in the nicknames or the labels. He was just himself, Barry White, and that was enough. White liked to keep things simple, reminding people that he was about more than just love songs. His music was a way to make people feel good about themselves and feel connected to others.
Made music that was conducive for love making.
But as he got older, Barry White faced challenges with his health. Performing live became harder for him, especially as he struggled with swelling in his legs and ankles. This condition, known as edema, made it difficult for him to stand up and move around on stage. Instead of being patient and understanding, some fans were disappointed when they saw him sitting during his shows. His manager, Ned Shankman, shared in a documentary that some people in the audience would even booed him because they wanted the old, energetic Barry White, who would walk around and play the piano. It was heartbreaking for White and his family. White's son later explained that his father was doing the best he could. He wasn't able to stand up, but he was trying. He was struggling, but he was trying, and God bless him for that. Even with his health issues, Barry White still put in effort to give his fans a good show. He didn't let his illness keep him from sharing his gift, and he tried to perform as best he could. Despite being called the King of Romance, his romances didn't have happy endings.
Here I am, baby, practice what you preach.
Barry's first marriage was to a woman named Mary. She was his childhood sweetheart, and they married when Barry was just 19 years old. Together, they had 4 children. However, as time went by, Barry and Mary's relationship started to change. Life got difficult, and the love they once shared began to fade. By 1969, they decided to go their separate ways. They finally divorced. After his split from Mary, Barry found love again. This time, it was with a singer named Glodian James, a member of the female singing group called Love Unlimited. The two worked closely in their music careers, creating songs that became hits like Walking in the Rain with the One I Love. As earlier mentioned, their connection went beyond the studio. Barry and Glodian love blossomed, and they got married. Barry and Glodian made a great musical team, and in 1981, they released an album together called Barry and Glodian. This album was special because it showed the world their deep connection, both on stage and off. They had 4 children together, and many people saw them as the perfect couple. But the music industry isn't easy, and their relationship began to feel the strain. By 1988, rumors started that they were living separate lives. Though they were no longer truly together, they never legally divorced. Despite living apart, Barry and Glodian stayed legally married until Barry's death in 2003. Because they were still married, Glodian became the person in charge of Barry's estate, managing all his belongings and music rights. This situation made her the sole decision-maker over Barry's legacy after his passing. Toward the end of his life, Barry was reportedly in a relationship with another woman named Catherine Denton. Though he shared his later years with Catherine, Barry never divorced Glodian. This meant that, in the eyes of the law, Glodian was still his wife when he died. White faced many serious health problems in his life. These health issues affected him greatly, especially in his final years. Barry struggled with his weight throughout his life. He was overweight for most of his adult years, reaching up to 375 pounds, 170 kilograms. His weight caused him many health complications, including heart and kidney problems, which became life-threatening over time. Barry was also a heavy smoker. It was reported that he smoked around 150 cigarettes a day. Smoking this much put even more stress on his body, especially on his heart and lungs. Because of these lifestyle choices, he developed high blood pressure, which led to more serious health issues. In the last part of his life, Barry's health got worse quickly. He was dealing with kidney problems and had to go through dialysis, a treatment that cleans the blood when the kidneys can no longer do it. He was waiting for a kidney transplant, but his health was not strong enough to get one. In May 2003, Barry suffered a stroke. A stroke happens when blood flow to a part of the brain is cut off, and it can cause long-lasting damage. For Barry, it affected his ability to speak and caused weakness on one side of his body. This stroke forced him to step away from his music career and retire from performing in public. Barry's family members shared that he was having a very hard time. His half-sister Sandra said in a documentary that during his last concert, Barry could barely stand. She recalled that he managed to finish the show, but he nearly collapsed afterward. Even though his health was poor, Barry was hesitant to seek medical help or make changes to improve his health. Barry's daughter also spoke about her father's struggles. She said that in May 2003, Barry had surgery to place a catheter in his arm so he could continue dialysis. Unfortunately, soon after, he had a stroke that worsened his condition. Though he tried to stay positive, his health continued to decline. Sadly, on July 4, 2003, Barry White passed away in Los Angeles due to heart failure. He was only 58 years old. His body was cremated, and his ashes were scattered in the ocean off the California coast. His family, friends, and fans were heartbroken by his loss. A TV documentary later explored Barry's life and health struggles, shedding light on how hard it was for him in his last years. Looking back at his music career, Barry White had a lot of success in his music career, but there was one big dream he never got to make happen. In his book, Love Unlimited, Insights on Life and Love, Barry shared how much he wanted to work with Marvin Gaye, one of his favorite artists. They were planning a project together, but Marvin passed away before they could start. Barry felt the loss deeply. He wrote, "His passing hit me so hard and deep. It broke my heart." Barry said Marvin was ready to try something new and push himself to be even better. Losing Marvin wasn't just his personal heartbreak. Barry felt it was a loss for everyone who loved music. Just days before Marvin died, he had asked Barry for help on his next album. Marvin wanted Barry to produce it, but Barry told him, "Marvin, you're crazy. You don't need a producer. Nobody can make music like you can." Barry was willing to brainstorm ideas with Marvin, but believed only Marvin could produce his unique sound. Sadly, the two music legends never got the chance to work together. Barry's words show how much he respected Marvin and how much he missed the chance to create something great with him. Now, what most people don't know about Barry's career was that Barry didn't want to be a singer at first. He preferred to produce music for others.
Well, here I am, baby, practice what you preach.
However, his friend Larry Nunes heard his recordings and was convinced Barry's voice needed to be heard by the world. Larry encouraged him to release the songs himself, and Barry took the chance. This decision changed Barry's life. Barry White released his first solo album, I've Got So Much to Give. The album included the hit, I'm Gonna Love You Just a Little More Baby, which was a huge success. It topped the R&B charts and reached number 3 on the pop charts. Fans loved Barry's deep voice and romantic lyrics, and soon he became known for his smooth, soulful sound. He continued to produce hits, including Never, Never Gonna Give You Up and Can't Get Enough of Your Love, Babe. His rich voice, large frame, and smooth style earned him nicknames like the Walrus of Love in the UK and Dr. Love in the US.
Never, never gonna give you up. I'm never, ever gonna stop.
Barry's popularity spread worldwide. He had several top 10 hits in the UK, like You're the First, the Last, My Everything, which topped the charts there. Barry left his record label, 20th Century Records, and started his own label, Unlimited Gold, with CBS Columbia Records. However, the 1980s brought tough times for Barry. Disco music was becoming less popular, and he struggled to have the same success he had before. Though he released several albums, only a few songs like Change made an impact. Running his own label became financially difficult, so Barry decided to focus more on performing live. Eventually, he had to shut down Unlimited Gold. Barry signed with AOA&DM Records and released The Right Night and Barry White. The album included the single Show You Right, which reached number 17 on the R&B charts. Barry continued to release music, and he put out The Man Is Back, which had popular songs like Super Lover and When Will I See You Again.
When will I see you again?
The 90s brought a new wave of popularity for Barry. People were feeling nostalgic for the 70s, and Barry's music fit right in. He worked with Quincy Jones on a song called The Secret Garden, Sweet Seduction Suite, which helped reignite interest in his music. Barry's album Put Me in Your Mix reached number 8 on the Billboard R&B albums chart, and the title song hit number 2 on the R&B singles chart. Barry released The Icon Is Love, which was a major success. The album topped the Billboard R&B charts, and the song Practice What You Preach became his first number 1 R&B single in nearly 20 years. This album even earned Barry a Grammy nomination for Best R&B Album, although he lost to TLC's Crazy Cool. Barry continued to make music with other artists, including Tina Turner, with whom he recorded the song In Your Wildest Dreams.
When we worked on it, we felt, yeah, it's a song where it needs to be a couple some kind of way.
It has to be a song that I appreciate, that I really am attracted to, and we can do something.
That same year, he contributed to the Space Jam soundtrack with comedian Chris Rock on the song Basketball Jones. Barry released his final album, Staying Power. The title track reached number 45 on the Billboard R&B charts and won him 2 Grammy Awards for Best Male R&B Vocal Performance and Best Traditional R&B Vocal Performance. That same year, Barry published his autobiography, Love Unlimited, co-written with Mark Elliott, giving fans an inside look into his life and career. Even though Barry is no longer with us, his songs continue to inspire people around the world. Fans listen to his music when they need comfort or want to celebrate life. Barry White's legacy will never fade away.